Mental Training 101. And now back to Get Warrior Tough with Andrew and Dutch.
All right, back to Get Warrior Tough. Hey, listen, my wife texted me, and you and I just confirmed this, that Frank Sinatra has passed away. That's sad. I'm looking at the LA Times, post on it, said that Frank Sinatra Jr., who carried on his famous father's legacy with his own music career, has died. He was 72. The Sinatra family said in a statement to the Associated Press that Sinatra died unexpectedly Wednesday of cardiac arrest while on tour in Daytona Beach, Florida. Man, that's awful. I love Frank Sinatra's music, and I loved, the whole 60s thing and the Rat Pack, and man, Dutch, that's awful.
Yeah. Obviously, I'm not even close to as old as you, so I don't remember him specifically.
You gotta go there, man.
But I do know that his dad was a legend, and I didn't know as much about Junior, but I knew about the legendary status of his dad and all the different things that you see, and I'm finding out more and more about
his dad and Junior, the whole thing. I mean, it was just they're American icons, dude. It's just sad. And Junior, I saw a special when he was like singing with his dad, and it was just cool to see them together. And and you said that the story said something about him being kidnapped when he was 19. I think I remember reading that. He was already in the music business by then. It's just anyway.
It's just one of those names in American culture that when you hear that name, pretty much everyone knows who it is of it. They know something about it. They can point them out in a photograph. It's just great to have a name like that where everyone knows your name, and that's amazing. And you have to do some amazing things in order to reach that status.
Yeah, and he looks a lot like his dad. I mean, a little different, but he does. I mean, it's enough that when I look at him, it reminds me of being young again, and when I was a little kid, because he was big. When I was a kid, and anyway, it's. And the family legacy thing, Dutch, because you're the second, right, and you have a third Dutch, and I mean, so the name it's a pretty big deal with the family legacy in the name. And I name Drew, he's the second, so I mean we it's happening in my family too. So we anyway, our thoughts and prayers go out to the Sinatra family, and it's a loss for the country right now. That's all I'm saying.
Amen.
Yeah, anyway. All right, so Dutch, back to this. I got this question. It says, do you need to have a graduate degree or an MBA to make it to the top levels in corporate? And I'm going to hold my opinion because I'm very opinionated about this, Dutch, but I'm going to let you take a shot at it first, and then, because I don't want to spoil it.
This goes back to your target. Mm-hmm. I mean, one of the things that people try to do oftentimes is reinvent the wheel. That question can be answered industry to industry as far as because we know that sometimes you get trapped into an industry that people expect that's one of the check marks that you have to check off. Mm-hmm. Now, that doesn't determine whether you're going to be successful because within that industry that has those check marks, I guarantee you'll find people that didn't have it and didn't have other check marks that were successful because of their own ingenuity, their own effort, their own connections, their own ability to solve huge problems. So you're going to find that. But I'm a person that generally says no. Now, if you do get that, then I want you to have a reason. I want you to have a reason for yourself because you're putting in time and resources and a lot of things to achieve that. So don't get it for some fluff or just, for something that doesn't really matter. Go in there to learn something, to get trained or educated at something, but not just because you, quote unquote, need it. Because what happens is you end up going through the motions and you do the bare minimum just to get that checkbox checked. And you don't really gain or learn anything. And then you'll find out in the end, you'll be asked, you know what, I didn't really need this. I wasted my time, and you won't really appreciate it. And you'll be sitting there wasting the 2, 3, 4, 5 years of your life and time that you didn't need it. So my answer is no, but it's something that even if your answer is no, you should look within the industry that you're speaking of and see the possible impact, do your pros and cons for yourself, and also make sure that you identify people that were able to do it without it, to see if you have some of the same abilities, resources, processes possible that made them do it, because you may want to do that, because it's all about being successful, not about a piece of paper or some checkbox that someone has, arbitrary checkbox.
Right. And so, I'm going to put this caveat in the front end. If you're doing therapy and you want to be licensed as a therapist or a psychologist or psychiatrist, or, you're going to pass the bar. Like Dutch said, if it's a professional thing and you have to have the certification to be there, then you have to get it. Okay. Now, if it's just corporate or whatever, do you need an MBA or a master's? I have clients, they went and they got their master's in this because they thought it was going to be. I see this with public school teachers. They get their master's so they can get the pay raise. It has nothing to do with them, or they want to go into administration. If that's what you need to do it, but you do not need to be successful. And I will tell you, I have, a master's and I have a PhD. Those things cost me money. They didn't really make me money. And I'll tell you what makes me money is my ability to critically think and have emotional intelligence and demonstrate that with people and relationships. Because if you don't have emotional intelligence and critical thinking, I don't care how many master's degrees or PhDs you have, if you can't get along with people, you are going to be dead in the water as far as leadership goes. You're not going to be successful.
So, absolutely. Now, I'll add one other thing that I think still falls into exactly what you're saying anyway. The ability to effectively communicate. And I think that's what you were saying.
That's it, yeah.
That's the relationships part. So it goes in there as well. Because, if you can effectively communicate all those abilities that are wrapped in what Andrew said, you don't need that stuff. You don't need all that other stuff. Again, we're not talking certifications that are required. You're not going to go practice medicine without going to med school.
Please.
Don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that.
Don't do that.
Dutch and Andrew did not tell you to do that, right? No, go get your certs, right? You got to be certified. But yeah, absolutely. And this is what, I'll say it's the person who is a solution-oriented people whisperer that rises to the top. And I'll say it even in the medical community or in administration or the lawyers, it's the ones that Dutch, like you just said, communicate effectively. That's the people whisperer and solves problems, right? Has the emotional intelligence. And the empirical data shows that. By far, emotional intelligence is the giant, huge marker about whether someone's going to be successful in any career at all, anywhere. It doesn't matter what the certs are. It doesn't matter if you're an engineer. And Dutch, this is why you were successful in engineering, because you had the emotional intelligence to speak the three languages, right? Sales, the customer, and the engineering guys. Is that fair?
Absolutely. It vaulted me into an area where I wasn't degreed. I had an engineering degree, and it vaulted me on the money side because of those other abilities. So what happened was I had people in the area where I was that may have their MBAs or these different highfalutin business degrees. But you know what I did? I could speak all the languages. I can effectively communicate it. I could work with others. I could lead others. So that vaulted me in an industry, on the side of an industry that I wasn't classically trained for, but I was trained in the other areas that would make me successful in any arena. So I vaulted in front of all the people who had all the masters and the PhDs and all these different things, and they were following my lead. And it was only because, so in essence, if you spend your time getting trained in relationships, effective communications, leadership, different things like that, you can find yourself every bit as valuable as someone who paid $50,000 for an MBA.
Well, I'm going to say more valuable, because if you can't speak to people, and I'll tell you, I've seen this, man. I've seen people with masters and with PhDs. They cannot deal with people, right? And they literally thought that if they just got their masters, that it would help their career. They thought if they got their PhD, it would help their career. And they still can't communicate. They still don't have emotional intelligence. They can't get along with people. They don't think critically. Which you would think that they would learn all these things, but they don't teach them. They don't teach them in these programs. They don't teach them in academic, mostly because the academics don't do that. Here's my problem with that. Here's the whole thing with formal education. Let me get on the soapbox, Dutch. Hang on. Right? Right? This is what happens in academia. We tell you, here's a set of problems, and you have to give me the answer and solve the problem in the way that I'm telling you I want it solved, or I mark you wrong. So we actually do the opposite of teaching people to be solution-oriented. We tell them, solve a problem that we already know the answer to, and you have to do it in the way that we tell you to do it, or we're going to penalize you. So this is the autopilot program that we're teaching kids since kindergarten, right? And so then when they get in the real business world, the people that could think outside that box and be nonlinear and actually solve a problem that's never been solved before, and they're comfortable being uncomfortable out there, those are the people that are successful. Sorry, man. I didn't mean to get on that.
Well, what they do is they teach you how to complete a task that is unique to that industry or that subject that you're dealing with, right? So what we should be teaching you is how to come up with a process, how to formulate a how-to that goes across any area of your life with any person, any industry, physical, spiritual, anything, you're teaching me how to develop a process and how to manage the process that fits in. That was my gift.
Dutch, it sounds like the Get Warrior Tough process you're talking about, man.
Absolutely. And that's why my gift allowed me to jump from one side of the industry to the other. And it allowed me to lead people who have been trained to fulfill a specific task in a specific industry. So I was able to lead them to continue to do those tasks while I handled all the big problems, because I can handle I can solve huge problems. So in essence, Andrew, if you had the MBA and I was the guy who was able to solve huge problems, I'm walking to our boss and I'm handing him or her a spreadsheet showing that I saved the company $1 million, and you're walking in there with a copy of your MBA.
Right. Exactly. See, and you and I have talked about this. Literally, and I know this sounds like, oh, I have a friend say, you're just a shameless self-promoter. It's only because it's true. If you should get in our program and just even if you spend 13 weeks in it, it will launch you further than 2 years in a graduate program that you don't learn these skills, because you could have the paper at the end, like Dutch said, and not be coming in there and knocking out the 1 million, 5 million, 10 million, problem solving, and listen to what I did to your bottom line. And personally, it will help your bottom line. I can attest to that, right? And Dutch just said, because he was a bridge builder, because this is, the process that he's using. He and I designed the process based on our experiences. And so, we already have it, so it's duplicatable for you. You don't have to try and stumble through it like Dutch and I did for years. We just kind of stumble bunnied into it. And then we, reverse engineered it, if you will, so that we know how we could help other people with it.
I'm going to give away a secret right now. I'm going to give away a secret. When you deal with people like Andrew and I, we're not going to have some magic potion that's going to get you out of your situation. What we're going to change is the way you look at everything, right? When after spending 13 weeks with us, you may realize that horrible situation that you wanted to get out of is the most perfect situation that you need to be in order to get where you want to go. Think about this. You're at this horrible job around these horrible people with these horrible problems, right? And you're trying to get out of it. So what we're going to do is we're going to train you to look at your situation and say, all right, so how am I going to get out of this situation? This is perfect. There's a ton of problems around here. We're wasting millions of dollars around here. All these employees are horrible. So I have all the things I need to shine. There's a million problems around here that I can solve and be vaulted into areas that I've never thought of. But meanwhile, we're miserable and we're mad because we're in a problem-ridden place that's given us every opportunity to be great.
I love it. We're up on a break, Dutch. Can we pick that up when we get back? Because I want to run that down a little further. You're listening to the Get Warrior Tough radio show with the Dutch Coleman and, of course, Andrew Wittman.